In this video, we are going to look at drawing different types of shapes for an orthographic drawing. We're going to use all the skills that we've used so far in order to do this. So I'm going to start here by just drawing a normal box. Now, I do have some dots on my paper that will help me line things up a little bit quicker than you. But the first thing you want to do is pick a corner to start from. So if I'm trying to draw a box like this, I need to choose where I want to start. So I'm going to choose to start up in this corner. I'm going to put a dot right here for that. Now, when we're making orthographic drawings, which is the end goal, we want to make sure that the sides, the vertical and horizontal lines of our shape will all line up with the horizontal and vertical lines on the paper. So in order to do that, I would want to make sure that my line is parallel to the paper. So I would measure down here, and that's about 3/4 of an inch. So when I come over to this side, I'm going to do the same distance down about 3/4 of an inch and put my dot. So now when I draw these two, or when I draw this line, I know that that line is going to be parallel to the edge of the paper. So that way, if I have another shape below here, this shape and that shape will be lined up, and all these lines will be parallel with each other. Okay, so that's my first line. Now, there's a couple different ways you can go about it. I think the easiest way is to start the edge, which would be the left edge here going down. So I'm going to use my triangle, and these are perpendicular lines. Okay, I'm not going to draw it all the way down. I'm going to measure from here now. So I put the 11 there, and I go down. I'm going to make this an inch. Okay, so I'm going to line up this line and my dot here all together. Now I can draw the full side in. Okay, then the rest of the time I'm just going to work my way around. This is about an inch. Down here, I'm going to go about an inch. Okay, now I have 2 dots on each side, and I can just connect up my dots. And there is a shape pretty close to a square. All right, next thing we're going to look at is lining shapes up. So I have my first shape right here, and if I want another square right next to it, I need to keep those lines lined up with each other. So I would line my ruler up with this first line and come over, and I'm going to start in the same top left-hand corner. So I put a dot. Now I need to measure across. We'll say this one is only 1/2 inch. Okay. So I have my first dot, a dot 1/2 inch across, and I can connect those two together. Then I'm going to use my triangle, the 90-degree angle. And these shapes are going to be the same height. Okay, so I don't need to necessarily measure down because I have my line from before that is already on the page. Now I'm going to measure over again, 1/2 inch. And I have all my dots to line up the rest of the sides. Hey, so if I take a ruler or a straight edge, you can see that these sides line up, the top sides line up. All of these sides going vertical are all parallel to each other. And they're also parallel with the side of the paper. Same with these. Parallel to each other and parallel to the top of the paper. So when we make orthographic drawings, we want all of our edges and all our sides to all be lined up with each other. That allows us to make measurements off of the other pieces. So if I was labeling this, I could say that this height is 1 inch. Okay, and instead of having to write it 4 times, I can just write it 1 time here on this side, and then I know that this is 1 inch, this is 1 inch, this is 1 inch, and this is 1 inch, because all my shapes, or all my sides of my shapes, line up. Okay, last type of shape we're going to look at is what I call a compound shape. So that's basically not a simple shape. It's not a triangle or a circle or a rectangle. It's made up of multiple shapes. So this is how most things would be in real life. Most things are not just a rectangle. It could be something like a rectangle that has a triangle on the end of it, or 2 rectangles put together, or a triangle and a circle. So if you were trying to draw one of these, you need to break it down into the simplest shapes. So this example, I would take the triangle apart. This example, I could take a square off the top, or I could go down this way and then make 2 rectangles or 2 squares in a rectangle. This one obviously would break right here at this curved spot, and the circle would come off from the triangle below it. So when you're drawing these, you're going to draw one shape at a time. So we'll start with this one. So I'm going to do the same drawing tips that we've been doing for the other shapes. Start with a rectangle. I'm not going to measure this one just to save time. Okay, so there's the rectangle, and then I should have drawn this line more lightly, but I can erase this line out, or I can just never draw it in the first place. And then I can add on my other shape to that. So that is how you draw a compound shape. Okay, last thing we're going to look at doing is a 2-view drawing. We're going to use this little block that I have to make a drawing of, and we're going to do 2 different views of it so we can get all the information about this block. So first thing is, it's obviously a square. So again, just to save time, I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to get it close. Okay, and we'll trace a circle in the middle. Okay. So this would be our first view, and we'll call this the front view. Okay, now if we look at this, we can tell the height and we can tell the width, but we can't tell is the depth. So if you looked at this drawing right here, it could look like this block, or it could look like a really tall block that was twice as thick as this block. just by looking at this drawing, you can't really tell. So we need to do one more view of the side. Okay, when we draw a side view drawing, then we can tell the depth of the block as well as the height and width. Okay, so this is why we talked about this up here. When we're doing a second view or a side view, we want to make sure our lines line up. So I would draw a line right here. Now you can tell all three dimensions. We'll say this is an inch, this is an inch, and this is a quarter of an inch. And now you can fully tell how big this block is just from this drawing. So this is the front view, and this is a side view. And if you wanted to, you could rotate this the other way and do a top view here. And that would give you the same information of depth as the side view does.